Welcome to WakeGOV TV. I'm Eric Curry. We have several topics for you today. We'll talk with you about some of the resources available for military veterans here in the county, as well as update you on the latest news going on at the Wake County Animal Center. But first, distracted driving is a behavior dangerous to drivers, passengers, and non-occupants alike. According to a report released by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration in April of this year, 10% of fatal crashes in 2011 were reported as distraction-affected crashes. 17% of injury crashes in 2011 were reported as distraction-affected crashes, and in that same year, 3,331 people were killed in crashes involving distracted drivers, and an estimated additional 387,000 were injured in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. With us to talk about what's being done to bring attention to this important issue is Suzanne Ledoyen, public health educator for Wake County Human Services. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Eric.
Suzanne, the first question many folks will say, what is distracted driving?
Distracted driving is any behavior or activity that takes your mind off the road, takes your hands off the wheel and your eyes off the road. And that can be any item. It can be doing something in your car, changing the radio, texting, tending to a child, anything that just takes your mind off the road. When you're in that vehicle, you're intended to drive that vehicle.
And what are some, other than texting, which is well known, and using your cell phone, what are some other things that drivers do that they don't think puts them in the distracted driver category? You
made good points. A lot of people just think that first that it can't happen to them, that I'm such a good driver, I can handle using my knee to steer and turn around in the back and hand my child a pacifier or a book. As you said, texting obviously is the worst. Texting takes your eyes, your mind, takes everything to perform that text. Just anything again that takes your mind off of the road. Studies show that having an intense conversation with someone can preoccupy you enough not to pay attention to what's going on in your environment around you. And we also have to drive defensively. Even if we choose not to be distracted, there are going to be other folks that very well may be. So if we add two distracted drivers, the issues can be momentous. So we encourage people just to truly keep their hands on the wheel and their eyes on the road and their mind about where they're going.
Why is this issue such an important one to educate the public about?
It is, because we're finding the data is just showing alarming numbers of drivers that were in serious and fatal, many times fatal situations that were proven that there was some type of distraction, primarily texting, that was preventing them from performing, driving their car correctly. So we just really, with Wake County, it's very important to us to help keep our citizens safe. We have a child passenger safety program that we've started incorporating this distracted driving message into, to hopes to kind of grasp that parent's attention. We care about all ages, obviously, that ride in the roads, but we definitely are working on, protecting the smallest passengers.
Now, who are some of the most serious offenders of distracted driving, teens or adults?
Teens are, and it's shown that 11% of all distracted driving fatalities with teenagers last year were attributed to distraction. So teens are young, inexperienced novice drivers. Not that us being much older makes us any more capable of being distracted and driving, but it does show that teens are at far more risk. And many times this campaign is geared towards teen drivers, and we beg parents to set expectations with your children that are driving. It's the law, but sometimes that's not enough to encourage people to not do it. I tell parents, every parent needs to do a contract with their teenager that's going to be driving and set rules that you are not going to do that. It's against the law, but for us, a phone needs to be off. It needs to be turned off. It needs to be put up. It doesn't need to be on where that temptation is even there to answer that call.
And what are some of the issues, though, for adults that think this is only a teen problem?
Many times for us adults, it's just behavior change for us. We're in a fast-paced society. Many of us are at one destination and have 3 more to go to and have lots of things in our mind and lots of things that we need to do. And it's just getting in the mindset that the phone doesn't have to be on when we're in the car. The phone can be off. That's acceptable to do, and we need to get in that habit of doing that. So we're asking people to go to distraction.gov, which is the NHTSA website, and to sign a pledge. And that pledge is any driver should take that pledge. Where you pledge not to drive distracted, you also pledge, if you're a passenger, to speak up and to help spread the message for us. On that website, you can also find a teen parent contract as well.
So how can others get more information about the effects of distracted driving and to be a part of any type of program here in Wake County?
Right. They can contact me, and I manage our Buckle Up program at Wake County through Human Services, and they can get my information and contact me. They also can join our local Safe Kids Coalition that meets the fourth Thursday of every month at Wake Med at the Andrews Center from 12 to 1 o'clock. And they also can go on to the NHTSA website, go to distraction.gov and check out the information there.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Later in the show, we'll get the latest news on what's being done to find loving homes for the animals at the Wake County Animal Center. Stay tuned.
You're on your way to meet up with friends, but you can't seem to get anywhere quickly. You don't want your friends to be annoyed, so you text. You're on your way. Five seconds is the average time your eyes are off the road while texting while driving. Make sure you get where you're going.
The Wake County Veterans Services Office assists eligible veterans, their dependents, and/or surviving spouses, children of deceased veterans, members of the Reserves or National Guard, and active duty service members in applying for essential benefits and services from the Department of Veterans Affairs and the North Carolina Division of Veterans Affairs. Joining us to talk about these services offered is Dougie Johnson, Director of the Wake County Veterans Services Division. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Eric.
First thing, can you talk a little bit about what are some of the services offered in the county's Veterans Services Office?
Yes, sir. Back in 1981, the county created the Veterans Services Office. Someone thought it would be a good idea to have assistance for claims, VA claims. We moved organizationally from human services into community services back in 2006, shortly before I came on board. And ever since then, we actually moved physically from 567 East Hargett Street to where we are now at 3000 Falstaff Road. If you think self-sufficiency and anything that one would need to be self-sufficient, the VA pretty much offers that. We were talking anything from disability to health care, education benefits, insurance, the whole 9 yards. There's burial benefits, but yes, there are many veterans benefits that are available, and my office is ready and willing to assist with each one.
There is a unique need for this office in this community, isn't it?
I think so, and I think that the leadership, the county leadership that established the office in the early 80s, they had incredible foresight to establish the office. It could be very intimidating, a very daunting task for a layperson who just wanted to serve his country, her country, to want to follow up on with benefits. For instance, the first look you get when you file a disability claim is a 6-pager written in very high-level bureaucratese. Now, my office is very familiar with the nuances of the VA. We have a great working relationship with the North Carolina Division of Veterans Affairs, which we're accredited through, and ultimately key individuals at the VA regional office in Winston-Salem to be able to facilitate things a bit.
Now, what about, obviously, the veterans can be served in your office, but we mentioned earlier in this segment that dependents as well?
Absolutely. There are some dependents benefits. Of course, there are certain qualifiers that they must have. For instance, dependency indemnity compensation would be to a surviving spouse, unremarried surviving spouse of a vet that passed away from a service-connected disability. And then there's the death pension piece, where survivors of wartime vets who don't have a whole lot of money, but they have considerable medical expenses, can get some assistance with medical expenses. One thing that I wanted to mention, you kind of reminded me of something to say. We do have the ability to serve veterans at the regional offices or regional centers that the county has. We're at the Eastern Regional Center the second Wednesday of each month. We're at the Northern at the third, and we're at the Southern down in Fuquay-Varina the fourth Wednesday of each month. We do have the ability also to go to a surviving spouse's home, or even a veteran who's not able to get into our office physically and go to their home to help them with this as well.
And any upcoming events, and how can citizens and veterans and their dependents, active duty, find more information about Wake County Veterans Services?
Absolutely. Well, you know, we just missed the Capital Area Veterans Stand Down. We had that back in mid-October, so we just missed that. But of course, there's the Veterans Day, Memorial Day, and 4th of July holidays, where there's typically parades, and there are folks that are, you know, offering free benefits for veterans. Like, for instance, on Veterans Day, Golden Corral offers a free meal to the vets, you know, and I think there are a couple other restaurants that do that as well. We always get tagged by employers looking to hire veterans. You know, they reach out to us, and we have to refer them over to the Department of Employment Services. You know, but you know, there's a lot of love for the vets out here in this community.
Well, great, and thank you so much for not only serving this country, but leading the Wake County Veterans Services Office.
I really appreciate that. You know, it's my pleasure to serve, and I really admire the men and women that I help, whether they served or they are a loved one of someone that served. It's a labor of love. It's almost like putting the uniform back on. Thank you for interviewing me today.
Thanks, Dougie. And when we return, we'll share with you news about an international recognition the Raleigh-Wake County Bureau of Investigation recently received. Stay with us.
A full life measured in seats starts with the right ones early on. Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Learn how to prevent deaths and injuries by using the right car seat for your child's age and size.
Raleigh-Wake City County Bureau of Identification achieved international accreditation for the crime laboratory in June of 2013. This accreditation is very important to the citizens of Wake County because it instills confidence in the work that is being done in the lab. It shows that there's the highest level of standards that are known in the industry, so to speak, are being used. The accreditation is renewed, reaccredited every 5 years, but there is what is called a surveillance visit done by the accrediting body every year. They come in and sort of do a spot check. So it's not something that you achieve and then just walk away from. It's maintained, and it's also inspected and looked at every year. The criminal justice system, it will increase the confidence across the board, whether the defense attorneys or prosecutors or juries, to know that the forensic evidence used in a courtroom, presented in court, has been subjected to and analyzed under the highest standards that are achievable in the industry.
CCBI Crime Laboratory analyzes evidence from all jurisdictions in Wake County. We are divided into very specialized units. We have the latent print unit, which is fingerprints, palm prints, and shoe prints.
This is SPECS, our local database, and this consists of all Wake County arrest records, gun permits, and sex offender registries. And all of our latents that we get in from all the different crime scenes get placed into SPECS. And we run these and see if there's any matches. Here's one that I just entered last week. You can see right here, these little markers kind of match the minutia up on the fingerprint.
This is our footwear examination room, and in this room we take evidence items like these footwear items and we create standards for them, and that is something that looks like this when it's completed, and it helps us with the comparison process. So if we have evidence that was recovered from a crime scene, we take the crime scene evidence and use a standard that was generated by a known shoe of an individual, and we do an overlay, which is an impression of one on top of the other, just to see what kind of characteristics are similar. or not similar to each other. A lot of times what we are able to do is assist the detectives with determining brand and type of shoe. So if they're out looking for a particular individual, they can check their shoes to see what they may be wearing and see if that somehow can be linked back to a crime scene.
We also have forensic photography.
Well, I do a lot of different kinds of things. As you saw the display board earlier, I create displays like that. I also administer our digital crime scene system, where all of our agents upload their photographs when they're done at a scene. That way the detectives and other investigators can see the photographs pretty much instantaneously. I also create court displays for the DA's office for a variety of different cases.
We also have computer forensics, which deals in all type of digital evidence, such as computer and/or cell phones. We have the drug analysis unit, which analyzes illicit drugs. We also have a DWI blood alcohol, blood drug section, and we also receive evidence from jurisdictions to be transported to the state crime laboratory. Accreditation is very important to a crime laboratory because it validates the quality of the work that you do.
Know what?
What?
Since I got adopted, I've learned a lot about these humans.
I know. I mean, check out these two. It's Flirt City over here.
Yeah, I noticed that. It looks like my human is definitely into your human.
Oh, look! I think she's getting his number.
Nice.
Your human's got some sweet moves.
Takes after his dog. Oh, look, they're doing that thing where they put their arms around each other.
She kicked up a leg. It's like in the movies.
That's awesome. Looks like we're gonna be hanging out a little bit more.
Smokey just gave me a bear hug.
Welcome back. If you're an animal lover and owner like myself, you understand that there's no better bond between its owner and the pet. But unfortunately, a number of animals end up in shelters because of neglect, the lack of understanding the importance of spaying and neutering their pets, or simply because owners could not care for the pet any longer. But Dr. Jennifer Federico, the director of the Wake County Animal Center, is here to let us know how citizens can assist in reducing the alarming rate of unwanted pets. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
First, can you give us the latest information concerning the types of animals currently cared for at the center?
So we always have dogs and cats. We still have puppies and kittens, although that season is coming to a minimum. And then we have intermittent pocket pets, which include rabbits, guinea pigs, rats, ferrets, hamsters, gerbils. So we have an assortment at any given time of those guys as well.
Okay. What are some of the most common reasons people surrender their animals?
So a lot of people surrender them because they can either no longer care for them, they can no longer afford the care that they need, they're moving and can't take their pets with them. And then we have some people who have developed allergies to their pets, or for other reasons that they don't share with us, they just tell us because.
And Dr. Federico, what are some of the ways a potential pet owner can really be certain that they can care for that pet? Before they walk in your door, what are some of the questions they need to ask themselves?
So you want to ask yourself about your lifestyle. You may want a dog, but your lifestyle may not be best suited for a dog, may be better suited for a cat. So speak to your veterinarian if you already have a pet, or reach out to a veterinarian if you're thinking about getting a pet. You can come down and talk to our staff, our volunteers, and tell us about your lifestyle, and we can help you make the best pick for your family, because not only do we want to get our animals adopted, we want to make sure that it is a long-term commitment and it is the best fit for your family. So not every family situation fits every pet. So we can give you the most information for you to make the best informed decision.
And what should owners do if they can no longer keep their pet?
So if you're faced with that difficult decision, the best advice I can give you is try to rehome your pet yourself. Family, friends, flyers, Craigslist, because at that point you are advocating for one animal. use our animal center as your last option, because we are advocating for 200 to 400 animals, and we don't know your pet as closely as you do. It's a more stressful environment. So really do try your hardest to find a new home for your pet before bringing them to us.
Now, I remember shortly after you became director of the center, we had spoken, and one of your goals was to really foster a better partnership between the center and the nonprofit agencies out there that are all trying to do the same thing, is to foster and adopt animals in this community.
And the importance of that is, when you look at Wake County, we can only rehome so many animals ourselves, and even with all the partners that we have in Wake County. So now we are reaching beyond Wake County's borders and beyond North Carolina's borders. We are working with rescues in Pennsylvania, Kansas, Virginia, West Virginia, Florida. So we're trying to partner with more and more of the nonprofits to make sure that we can rehome most of our animals that are coming into the center. We are also working closely with the SPCA of Wake County to partner with them as one of our largest local nonprofit partners.
What about any upcoming events, initiatives that the center is planning to promote and spread the word about the good works that are going on at the center?
So we have adoption events in November coming up at Pet Supplies Plus and Petco. We are also partnering with the Wake County Libraries, where we're going to do one event at each of the libraries, an educational event, and it actually goes back to one of your first questions on what to think about when you're thinking about getting a pet. So all of those events are listed on our WakeGOV website. So it's wakegov.com/pets/events, and all of our events are on there.
And that was my next question: how can citizens find out more by just going to that website? But also, if they go to that website, if I'm not mistaken, they can also take a peek at some of the animals at the center?
Yes, they can. So we have an adoption gallery where all of our animals are listed, and we are actually currently in the process of upgrading that website to add additional features to make it more user-friendly, and that will hopefully be rolling out by the end of this year, beginning of next year.
Dr. Federico, again, it is a pleasure for you to be here, and thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
After the break, historic Oakview Park should add another treasure for citizens to enjoy. Stay tuned.
If you're looking for an incredible experience, meet a shelter pet and adopt. They make super pets who will enrich your life and steal your heart. Adopt and bring home a shelter pet today. To find out more, visit theshelterpetproject.org.
Thanks for joining us once again. Historic Oakview County Park recently announced the addition of a late 19th century tenant house to the park's property. The building made its 11-mile journey to a little over a year ago from its former location in Wendell to its current location. Tenant houses were used by emancipated African Americans hoping to create a community of their own alongside the middle-class landowners. With us to talk about this important piece of Wake County history and to talk about other events going on at historic Oakview County Park is its director, Emily Catherman, with Wake County Parks. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
The last time we really focused on this historic acquisition, it talked about its move and what have you, but what's been the latest? Obviously, there have been some developments since the last time viewers were first introduced about this important structure.
Yeah, it was about a year ago just after the house moved to the property that we last spoke about it. Since that time, we've had a little bit of restoration done. A roof's been added onto the house, but pretty much since that time we've been fundraising. We spent the last year trying to reach out to the people who use Oakview, our partners, volunteers, the local community, to fund the restoration and to get the building open to the public. And since that time last year, we've raised over $42,000 towards restoration. A large part of that was a $20,000 challenge grant from the Marion Stedman Covington Foundation, which we just recently were awarded. Part of that challenge was we had to raise $20,000 ourselves in order to get the $20,000 from the Covington Foundation. And they're an organization that funds historic preservation projects like ours.
And where did these donations come from?
Well, they came from a variety of methods. We had never really fundraised for a big project before, so we sort of tried everything. We held a fundraising concert. We had bake sales, we had raffles, we applied for grants, we talked to local businesses, we reached out to our longtime volunteers and partners, and the response was really overwhelmingly positive. We had a lot of really motivated volunteers that helped us. Our advisory board helped us quite a bit, and we were able to very successfully raise the money. Tenancy is something that went on in North Carolina and the South for over 100 years after the Civil War, but it's not something that we really spent a lot of time talking about. So I think people really latched on to this project because they had a history of tenant farming in their family, probably predominantly. It just rung true to them. And it's a big part of our very recent history, our very recent agricultural history here in the state. And I think people got excited about a chance to see that brought to life.
And I guess the final question on this part of the segment, folks are probably wondering, when can I get a chance to peek in
to
and
see it?
just see it?
Well, actually, we're about to start continuing with the restoration. It starts this month, and we have the funds in place, and we should be able to open the building in 2014.
What makes historic Oakview County Park so unique?
Well, we're focused on interpreting agricultural history, and we do that in a 100-year time span from about 1850 to 1950, and people can come out to the park and actually visit historic buildings that have been there for 100 years or more. And we have a number of those on site. They can learn all about the agricultural history in our state. And there's a number of things that they can do to just spend a nice day with their family, to play, to visit the animals we have. We have goats, and to just spend a beautiful day in the park. We have, we're right in the middle of our educational programming season. A lot of Wake County school children come out every year. And we have a number of special events just coming up next month. This month in November is our pecan picking month. We have a large pecan grove on site, and people can come out and pick a little sample from the site. And just at the very beginning of December, on December 7th, the first Saturday evening, we have our annual Sleigh Rides and Cider event, where you can come out and get the first taste of the season out at the park.
Now, how can citizens find out more, not only about the park, but also about the tenant house and all the exciting events that will be planned throughout the next several months?
Well, they can visit our website on WakeGOV.com/parks and /Oakview, or they can visit us on Facebook. We also have a Facebook page that they can join in and be the first to know about everything that's going on at the park.
Emily Catherman, Director of the Historic Oakview County Park, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. Keep up with the latest Wake County news by visiting us online at WakeGOV.com/news, or on Facebook or Twitter, or visit our WakeGov channel on YouTube. That's our show for today. Thanks again for watching.